Welcome to the Running Channel podcast with me, Rick Kelsey, and her, Sarah Hartley.
It's me. It's not Andy Badley, though. Don't worry, we haven't fallen out. But instead, an upgrade, an improvement, we'll let you decide. Back by popular demand, we have got a nutritionist and content creator, Sian Seccombe, coming along to join us to talk about how caffeine affects running. Very interested about this one.
I am absolutely gripped to know when is the best time of the day to stop drinking caffeine.
Yes, because you love a tea.
I do.
A peppermint tea for me is already too much. I don't have caffeine.
There's no caffeine in peppermint.
No, I know. And that's already too much. So I'm interested to see if Sian can convince me to introduce caffeine, what the positives are, what the drawbacks maybe are, how it can help in your running.
And you've not met her yet.
No, I haven't. It was you and Andy last time, so my turn. We're also going to be covering the latest running news. We've got a very juicy topic within that and answering your questions too. So let's jump in. Firstly, it's been a while.
Some people might be thinking that we fired the boss.
Or we fired you. Actually, to be fair, it probably feels like you've been here the whole time. Because as we all know, Rick can't cope with not being in a podcast episode. So somehow you've managed to go away for 2 weeks while simultaneously being in every single episode.
Yeah, and you know what I learned while I was away on holiday?
Yeah.
That I love fartlek.
Oh, did you do some?
I mentioned this a couple of months ago that I've changed my tune on running on holiday.
Yeah.
And this time on holiday, I put that into practice. Basically ran every couple of days and I did fartlek the whole way through holiday.
Nice.
I have just grasped the benefits of fartlek.
Right, so talk me through what does a fartlek look like to you?
Fartlek is obviously
means speed play.
Speed play, yeah. So it's slowing up, speeding down, but it's not as...
Do you mean slowing down, speeding up?
Yeah, but
Still
let
on
me
holiday.
get to that. Let me get to that.
Sorry, yeah.
It is a more relaxed version of intervals. Now, fartlek is amazing if you want to impress people because you can just leg it for 50 meters past
and then
people
really
you know,
make it look deliberate.
or people you might be living next to on a campsite, and then slow down to a walk, go for a kebab, have something to eat, just go to the beach, leg it for another 50 meters past people you know.
I'm really not sure I want to leg it after a kebab.
Yeah. Go back to a walk.
Right, sorry.
It is the best form of running.
So just to check, because you might have misunderstood the point here, we didn't mean fartlek for the whole holiday, like wake up, run to the fridge. It's a contained
It's a contained
session.
exercise. No, I was doing it in 30-minute bouts, basically. So I was kind of doing 5K of fartlek and I was on a seafront, so using benches to get from A to B.
No.
But I've just realised it is just the most fun form of running. Please tell me if you agree with me. It's so much more relaxed, better, easier on the mind, less pressure to get out through the door as well in the morning.
Yeah.
You just speed up, slow down as you like, and you look great while you're doing it. People are turning their heads on when I was running past them. They go, "Whew, he's fast." Well, not in 10 meters, I'm not.
I would love to know what was actually going through their head, but I'm
so
sure
good.
you looked amazing.
Yeah.
And you have been hard way training for a little 5K. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I've got an Olympian taking me out in a couple of weeks' time.
To run a 5K PB. Feeling confident?
On a flat surface. This is probably why I really kind of put my mind to it on holiday, that I was going to actually keep fit on holiday. And you know what? There was... Joe Wicks a few months ago talked about, his holiday routine. So I'm not saying I stuck to his routine, but I did feel better for it. However, it was the first time that I didn't have access to a gym while I continued to do running. So trying to do strength and conditioning. And I realized on a slightly serious tone that I could feel my leg weakening without doing, just not being able to go to the gym for 2
what was
weeks.
it, 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, so I was still doing bits, what I could do without a gym, calf raises and whatnot. But it really, and I think for a lot of people will relate to this who've had relatively serious injuries, if you don't do the strength work on your knee to keep those muscles finely tuned, you feel the weakness creeping in, especially if you're continuing to run as well.
Yeah.
And I think I actually reached my maximum. I think any more than 2 weeks of running every couple of days without doing proper strength and conditioning work, that would be where I'd have to stop, because I felt the muscles weakening.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. What about you?
So back in the gym. I have been trying to up my distance.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but a few of the Running Channel team are heading out to New York in November to run the New York Marathon.
Are you going?
I am going.
Am I going?
No. No, do you want to run New York Marathon?
That's nice. Is Owen going?
Is Owen going?
America's really expensive anyway. That's why I went to France on holiday.
Yeah, well, hey, look, we're going to Tokyo.
What is the dollar rate at the moment? What is it? 1.34?
Come on, Rick.
1.34
We're not on one of your
pounds?
finance shows
Sorry,
now.
so 1.34?
That's your
So
other
the
job.
euro's only 1.14. Sorry.
So
yeah.
I'm trying to up my distance.
Yeah.
And I had a really harsh reality check where I've been going out with other people from my club to do longer runs, but I think for them it's been a bit of a summer break long run happening over the last few months. Everyone now has turned their heads towards marathon training, and so I've dipped back into the long run game and tried to keep up with other people from my club for 25 kilometres. And at 21 kilometres, I bowed out because I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Because of the
it's
speed?
too hard. The combination of the speed and the hills, I think the speed would have been fine, but it was the route that we did was so hilly. So yeah, I just had to hold my hands up and be like, look, you guys crack on because you need to run a certain pace for your training. I'm just going to meander my way back to my car nice and slowly.
So where does that put you making 21 kilometres in terms of your plans for the rest of the year?
Well, so, I mean, it's reignited my, I guess, like pursuit of longer distances. I used to be the person that could just happily bash out a longer run. And I think I've obviously really injured my Achilles last year, so long distance running was kind of out of the window. Then I came back this year, started 5k training. I've built up, but I haven't quite built up to longer distances. So it's humbling. It's showing me that, you know, I'm following a marathon training plan. I think there are, like, as of recording, 87 days to go. I was supposed to do a hilly half marathon at a conversational pace. I ticked that off quite nicely. Ended
87
up doing
days to go until
New York Marathon.
So who else is running it?
I don't know if I can reveal, but we're a little family here.
Yeah.
Don't spread this around.
Okay.
Jess is running it.
No surprises there.
Yeah, she's got to keep ticking them off.
Yeah.
Ashley is also running New York Marathon, and I'll be running it too. And was
it just no blokes allowed?
Yeah, it's a girls trip. No, we have got.
Sounds like a great trip.
We've got Andre from the Running Channel Club who won New York Marathon entry as part of one of the competitions that we've run through the club. So that's really exciting as well.
So where does that put that, Sarah? New York Marathon is in what month?
November, right at the start of November. So the thing that I'm going to find really hard is that when we go out to Tokyo in September for 2 weeks, I'm going to have to marathon train through that. Not quite sure how that's going to work. There might be some kind of treadmill situation, or we're staying quite near to a big park. So I just have to loop
also
that.
doing the Owen behind the curtain who runs the show. He's also training to run across Wales.
Yeah, so maybe me and Owen need to link up for a few.
He's tapering during our time in Japan.
Oh, are you tapering?
Yeah, so he
doesn't know.
He's up to. No, he is. I've seen his training plan. He's all out the week before. No, you are. I assure you.
What you don't know though.
We changed his plan to fit around Tokyo.
Yeah, but what you might not know, because you've been gallivanting off on holiday, is Owen potentially is injured. So please send kind words of encouragement and positive thoughts to Owen.
Oh, right.
He'll know what's quite happening. But yeah, if you want to...
I mean, God, and he's got a really big job coming up. Well, sorry,
don't pile on the pressure, Rick.
Yeah.
Give the poor boy something to hold on to.
Charity as well.
Oh, no.
Think of all the kids.
We are all behind you, Owen. You're going to be fine. Yeah, if you want to keep up to date, we'll give an update in next week's episode of how Owen's leg, thigh,
so you're all training quite
hip, how that bit.
So you're all going to be training quite hard.
You're going to be training quite hard as well.
In Tokyo?
Yeah.
No.
This isn't like a little holiday for you.
Sake. Is it sake?
Oh, yeah, the little like shot that,
Yeah.
No, you're going to be working hard, really hard.
Yes.
Speaking of working hard,
you
had a little challenge to be getting on with in the background.
Yeah.
Right, balance board, hit me. Not with it. How did you find it?
tempting. It's pretty solid.
Hey, look, we've had a gap from each other. You should tolerate me
pretty
this
hard.
week. Okay, how was it?
The kids liked it. No, so it was the core balance board. I started off, and if you watch this on YouTube, you'll be seeing some pictures. I found it a touch tricky at first. Not having the best equilibrium.
Yeah.
However, if you do it for a couple of minutes in the morning and a couple of minutes every night, this is very useful for core strength.
Did it make it to France?
No.
No.
But I've got to be honest. But I did use it before and after, morning and night. And I do think it helped my balance, coordination, core strength, especially lower back.
Oh,
stuff.
really? Yeah. Interesting.
So if you do have some lower back problems, and I'm one of those people who sleeps with a sausage between his legs.
You have a pregnancy pillow?
I do have a pregnancy pillow.
Does your wife have a pregnancy pillow?
We both have pregnancy pillows. There's no space in our bed.
So
we really need a bigger bed.
There's like a little barrier.
Yeah. Honestly, sometimes I'm reaching around trying to find her.
That is a wonderful image.
Yeah, so there's a lot. There's a lot in the bed. There's a lot in the bed.
It's also such an easy one to.
Yeah.
So I have one of these, and this has convinced me that I need to get it back out. I feel like it's such an easy one to just like have it in the corner of the room, and then if you're watching TV or if you're doing the washing up or if you're folding laundry would be hard, but I'm sure someone could do it. If your balance is good enough, I reckon you could get the socks off the line and into the basket.
You cannot fold laundry on that board.
All right, challenge. If anyone has a balance board, email in. Can you fold laundry?
The exercises that you gave me as well. To go down.
Oh yeah, no, I'm purely thinking balance.
Yes, yeah. I mean, to go down on...
Not pressing up, fold a sock, press
onwards,
up again.
Yeah, but useful, and I am going to keep using it as well, but I'm just going to put it in my desk in the office.
Nice. So we'll see you every now and then balancing.
Right. Shall we go and speak to Sian?
Yes, very quickly before we do though, I just want to give a quick shout out. This week's club episode is When Should You Book a Race?
And Andy's in it.
Andy's in it. We're all
we've
together as a three.
We've not fired the boss.
No, not yet. But I think this is a really cool time of year because so many people might already have a race booked, or you might be thinking, actually, it's getting a bit colder now. I can run a bit faster again. What should I do?
It's a bit colder. It's August.
I don't know. I'm in a jumper. I feel like winter's arrived. Or at least autumn.
It's 23 degrees today.
I'm cold.
Nonsense.
Well, I've declared autumn has begun. If we have another heat wave, I'll revert back.
Literally lost the plot. You're one of these people.
Like
you're one of these people who age people. You are one of these people who ages people.
We all know you'll have a problem with that.
On the basis of the year, hear me out. So you're one of these people who you've got a friend whose birthday's in December, and then when it gets to the 1st of January, you go, oh yeah, they're 25 this year. They've literally just had their birthday to turn 24. It's such a weird British thing. We age people unnecessarily. So your baby's just turned 2. So they're 3 next year. Well, of course they're 3 next year. They just turned 2.
Wow, why do you have such a big problem with this? If I knew when your birthday was, if I knew the day that Rick Kelsey aged, I would do that to you. But it's a myth.
There is no day anymore.
Every day I just get younger whilst I watch the rest of the world not use eye cream.
Listen, and one of the ways that I stay young is maintaining my caffeine intake at correct levels.
Let's talk to Sian.
Sian Seccombe, the Running Channel's favourite nutritionist. Welcome back.
Oh, what an honour, thank you.
Last time you were here, we talked about what to eat before a run, but today we're talking about Sarah's favourite subject, which is...
caffeine. I think this is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, especially seeing as you've already told me you don't drink any caffeine.
No.
I'm not sure that's true, though.
I'll have like a tea, but I'm very hyper aware of it.
Because?
Just because I know how much it affects me. And this is why I feel like this is going to be fascinating, because the caffeine story that I always tell, so sorry if you've heard this before, is one day at uni, I was horrifically feeling unwell from the night before, had an early morning lecture, went to a vending machine, bought a bottle of Diet Coke, and had never drunk Coke before, went into the lecture, downed the whole thing and then almost had to walk out because I was shaking so much. And I have not touched caffeine since.
Apart from the cups of tea you now have with me.
Apart from the cups of tea. But that is a slow, if I could have decaf, I would.
Fair enough. And that's the thing. It's hugely variable how caffeine is going to affect every single person, especially when it comes to running, especially when it comes to tummies, especially when it comes to like habitual or non-habitual coffee drinkers. Everyone is going to have a different response to it. So it's why actually just being aware of how it's working, what it's doing, and the effects it's actually going to have is really important.
Yeah. Well, should we start off with then, like, what is caffeine? Like, how does it affect, aside from running, how does it affect your brain and your body?
Yeah. So caffeine is a stimulant. So it's not actually giving you energy. It's just tricking your brain into having energy. So what it does is it blocks a receptor in your brain. So it blocks receptors that basically in normal average, as your brain was going on, a molecule would come in, join to this receptor, and you'll go, oh, I feel a little bit sleepy. So that kind of kick-starts your sleepy pathways. But caffeine comes in and goes, no, we're not going to turn that pathway on. We're not going to let you feel sleepy. So actually, you feel more alert because your body's not able to have that kind of reducing, relaxing effect on you. So it's going to make you feel more alert. It's going to make your central nervous system basically a bit more fired up. So that's why you kind of get that like, oh, boost. And that's where all the things with coffee come from of like, oh, it wakes you up, it makes you concentrate, it makes you think better, act better, and it also makes you feel more alert.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the headline of what coffee does.
And is there an extent to which it tips over into detrimental? Because so if you have coffee and you already are feeling pretty good, then what could start to happen?
Yeah, so it's basically a bit of a balancing act, and you can definitely have too much coffee because we have our two parts of our nervous system. We have one that relaxes us and one which pumps us up and gets us going. So that's our kind of fight or flight, and we get adrenaline and we get all those other hormones going, and that increases your heart rate, increases your blood pressure, gets blood flowing to your muscles, and that's what gets you kind of like ready to go. And too much coffee basically just sends that part of your nervous system just up and up and up and up. So too much coffee, you're going to be getting those jitters you were talking about. You're then getting a really elevated heart rate, and you can have too much coffee. Like there's been occasions where caffeine studies have gone wrong and people have ended up dying. Like you can have too much coffee, and that is very, very extreme.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that from drinking coffee because that'd be an insane amount. But that's also the thing with caffeine is actually one portion of caffeine is not necessarily the same as another portion of caffeine in the amount of the actual molecule you've got. So caffeine can actually, some people say if it was invented now, it would be a class C drug is what like the internet thinks.
Oh, really?
Because it is a stimulant. So it is on that spectrum of chemicals that are doing something to our body that naturally we don't have. Caffeine doesn't exist in our bodies like without ingesting it.
If you drink it regularly, though, what do you make of the research that suggests that coffee consumption reduces the risk of all-cause mortality?
So with that one, a lot of those studies are actually more based on the antioxidants and fiber content of coffee rather than the caffeine. So that's, like the Daily Mail headlines. It's like, oh, coffee's going to stop you dying. That's actually going, oh, because there's other stuff in coffee, not just the caffeine. So the effects of caffeine on being able to say, okay, we did a longitudinal study of 80 years. No one's ever done those studies, or I've not read them or found them. So actually being able to say it's going to have an effect on your lifespan. There's so many variables there that we can't control, that we don't necessarily know. But actually, in terms of caffeine being good or bad for you, it's about how much you have it. It's about how you use it, and also what your goal is. So if your goal is, I don't ever want my heart rate to elevate, I just want to stay in this super controlled, relaxed zone, caffeine is not going to be good for that goal. But if your goal is, I want to run 100 meters as fast as I can, caffeine is a brilliant, brilliant tool. And actually, it's the most studied enhancing drug for runners and athletes in general. So for powerlifters, they've done loads of studies, endurance, sprint, all of these activities we know are improved by caffeine.
The gains, though, 2 to 4%. I mean, that is actually quite significant if you're talking about fine margins of elite sport.
Yeah, so 2 to 4% is what we see in endurance athletes, which actually, if you think about it, that's the same as we say super shoes help. So actually, 2 to 4% on your marathon time is quite a long time. But again, I might get 1%. You might get 4%.
Yeah.
You might get -5% because it sent you to the Portaloo.
I'm just weighing all this up. So So I get 4% from getting my caffeine right. I get 4% from wearing super shoes. I get 4% from not having, a glass or a bottle of Gabby the night before. I'm basically at the Olympics next year if I keep going.
Well, I think we've gone back to the Daily Mail headline there, but maybe.
Yeah.
So for runners, then, how are most people kind of using caffeine, and what's the benefit there?
Yeah, so for most runners, if we're doing like endurance training or marathon running, because that's the two spectrums, right? So we can either look at like the short, speedy stuff or the endurance things. So speedy stuff, it's giving you kind of a 1 to 2% over 100 meters gain, which, as we're saying, if you're an elite athlete, that matters. So that's really important. And the thing is with caffeine is we need to think about how and when we're taking it. So when you drink a cup of coffee, you might think, oh yeah, I'm buzzed straight away. But actually, the caffeine's not peaking in your bloodstream until about 60 minutes later. So if you're going to a start line, you probably want to have your caffeine about an hour before. And then it's going, okay, so that caffeine's still in my blood. I don't want to then take another thing of caffeine at 1 hour because then I don't know how activated I'm going to feel. And then I've already taken the next one and then it's too late. I can't go back. I can't undo it. So it's actually going and understanding how your body responds. So thinking about the timing before a run, you're going to take it. And then when we're looking at endurance, it's thinking about, okay, are we going to use it during our runs? Because that's where kind of caffeine gels and tablets come in. But during, it's really shown that actually for endurance sport especially, caffeine during long runs is going to help reduce your fatigue, reduce the level of effort you feel. So that's one that comes up a lot, of actually having caffeine during or before makes the run feel easier. So you can run at a higher threshold without as much pain, basically.
But Sean, what are the timings then?
So for having your caffeine before, so if you're doing coffee or a caffeine gel, about an hour before you start is the best time to have it.
Interesting. So then when you're into the run itself, it's just monitoring how you feel. Because if we're thinking about like just taking gels with no caffeine, there is always that thing as well of like you want to take it before you feel like you need it, because is that even more when it comes to caffeine?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why when we're training for our long runs, we practice with our gels for our stomachs. Same thing with caffeine gels, because also you don't know how you're going to react to them, because how your body reacts to caffeine when you're sat down at home having a cup of coffee versus 30k deep are going to be quite different, and your tummy might have something else to say. So what I do personally is I alternate between caffeine and non-caffeine gels, but I don't go caffeine, non-caffeine, caffeine. I go, okay, so my fueling window is about 30 minutes. I know that I'll want a caffeine gel to hit me at about 20k probably, and then I'll take another one later on. So if I want it to hit me at 20k, I probably want to be taking it about 12k.
Give you an hour.
So it gives me some time. So I'll get them an initial boost from it, but then it'll actually really kick in when I'm in the trenches. And then most marathon runners will then take another one at about 30k. But again, if you've never practiced that, I would not recommend doing it.
Because what are some of the disastrous side effects that caffeine can lead to?
So it's jitters is up there, and actually probably most people have felt the effect of having too much coffee and having too much tea or energy drinks or whatever, that really like jittery on edge feeling. Toilet troubles is a big one. So caffeine and GI tummy issues, really busy friends. So that's where we get a lot of like Portaloo issues with taking caffeine when we're not used to it. So that's one of the big ones, is actually remembering that caffeine does have an effect on your digestive system and how your body's then utilising carbohydrates.
I really like the idea that it reduces your perceived effort. So when you log the end of a race or a run or a park run, generally my perceived effort is always 9 or 10. But this can change the perception of your effort, making it feel easier. So particularly useful for endurance activities. But how does it do that?
So it's all the way it acts in your brain. So because your heart rate's elevated, your central nervous system is a bit fired up, your body can basically produce more. So you're kind of taking a bit of the speedometer off So you're just letting your body roll more. So actually you can work at a higher level with the same effort, is essentially the trade-off of what caffeine then allows you to do. Because if you think it's kind of tricking your brain a little bit, it's going, actually, no, we've got more energy, in inverted commas, than we think we have. So actually we can go for it more. That's basically how it kind of lets you then feel that these hard efforts are a bit easier. But hard is still hard. So you can still push hard, but you're basically able to then get to another level. So say you were running at a certain pace with or without caffeine, that set pace would feel easier with the caffeine. But when you've had the caffeine, you might feel you can actually run a bit faster than that. So you might still finish your race and go, God, that was a 9 out of 10. But you've actually then been able to go faster than you would have without the caffeine. So it's that kind of nuance of it's almost letting you like unlock a layer.
I think the balance with caffeine is fascinating because I understand that caffeine has a half-life of 6 hours. So essentially that's 12 hours before it gets out your system. If I have a cup of tea, in 6 hours time, half of the caffeine from that tea will be gone, but another 12 hours, it will still be, even in small amounts, in my system. So if I'm having a cup of tea at 10 o'clock in the morning, if I want to sleep well, potentially, because caffeine affects your sleep, and I go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, the balance between me getting a good night's sleep that helps my running, plus the balance of taking caffeine to also help my running, is a really tight window, Sian.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure I sleep well the night before, but also want to make sure that I've got caffeine in my system at the right time. So how do you get that right?
Yeah, it's really nuanced. And that's such a good point that actually we do need to remember it affects our sleep. And as runners, sleep is so important. We can't recover properly. We can't race well. We can't life well if we haven't slept properly. So actually knowing as well how caffeine acts in your system. So the kind of 6 hour like half-life is a generalization, and actually different people will find it affects them differently. I'm sure we all know someone who can have an espresso after dinner and then fall asleep straight away.
But it's useful.
Well, yeah, for some, the 6 hours.
Yeah, because it's a guide.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And actually it's almost going, okay, so I'm going to start off using the 6 hours and think, okay, how does this work for me? And then you might find that actually you can get away with maybe 4 hours. I know I definitely can't. If I have caffeine past 11:30 in the morning, if I'm really pushing it,
Really?
that's my cutoff. I won't have caffeine after that. I might have a cup of tea if I'm feeling,
So
wild.
Okay, so let's dig into that a little bit more. So is it the half-life that's important, not the full life? Because when it's just in small amounts in your system, like Sarah having that massive bottle of Coke, it's not as important because your system's washed away most of it. Is that why we use the half-life as the decent measure?
It's basically saying that when we control caffeine, this is at the point that we know that like majority of it is gone. So basically, if you think of it kind of like an energy bucket, it's not energy, but if we think of it like that, the amount, if you've then got half of it left in your body, it's not going to be affecting you as much as there was the full amount. And so then as that goes down and down and down, it's having less and less and less effect on you. So as you then get further away from the point you've had that caffeine, it's just dropping off and it's affecting you less. So it's just for you to know, okay, a safe window is about 6 hours. If I then want to go and like relax and not have it affect me so much, but it's going, okay, so how does that work for you? You might need longer because of the way that your body metabolizes it. And that's where it's all kind of the personal trial and error. I'm going, okay, what works for me, my body and my running?
There's also benefits to having caffeine after a run as well. So if people aren't morning runners, then do they just have to weigh that up with their tolerance of caffeine as well?
Exactly. And it's kind of a personal prerogative of weighing up how you want to use caffeine. And it's almost thinking of it as a tool. So it's going, okay, how can I use this to get the most of my running? Like if you're doing an evening session, you're weighing up, okay, so how much would this help me get extra out of my session versus what is the impact of it going to have on my sleep? So I personally would never have caffeine before an evening session because for me, recovery and sleep is more important than eking 1% out of my random training session that's part of a much bigger picture of my training. Whereas if it was an evening race, because that happens sometimes, I would then look at it differently. If I had a goal for that race, I would go, actually, is my goal more important? And then I'll sleep in tomorrow. Like it's looking at it as a tool and balancing it with other things and going, okay, for my running, what's more important to me? Like, am I an elite athlete? Am I trying to get the 1s, 2s, percents? Or do I just like coffee? Could I have a decaf?
Yeah, I'd love to now ask an elite athlete that question as well, because when we think of like, we've got the world champs coming up, a lot of those races end up being in the evening, but then when you think of like heats and the final race, then they're balancing ultimate performance with recovery, with being prepared to then race again. I think that's just going to be my buzzword when we go to Tokyo.
Yeah.
Did you have coffee before this race?
Yeah.
Did you sleep well? Do you now feel prepared for the next race?
It's funny how we're just talking about it amongst the three of us here about drinks. You know, that's it. We're just talking about tea. We're talking about coffee. We're talking about your
But then it
Diet
comes in
Coke.
so many different forms. You can get caffeine like tablets to take before the run. You can get chews. You can get gels. I think Andy mentioned a few weeks ago that, was it before 2004, it was kind of like really heavily regulated. And then caffeine's now kind of in regards to like elite sport. And now it's kind of just become this slightly hard to monitor, uncontrollable thing.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things of like, if I'm not, am I missing out?
Yeah.
That's where it gets with the elites. And actually you'd find that probably a lot of the elites use tablets or gel form rather than drinks, because it's much easier to monitor and it's much easier for them to then be precise about the amount of caffeine they're having.
So is there a huge difference if I go, not that I will, maybe I will, if I go to my local high street and pick up a coffee, is there going to be a huge difference from one shop to the next?
Yeah, there could be a massive variation in between. If you're at home making an instant coffee, it's probably pretty low in the caffeine amount. So we look at caffeine content in milligrams, and you never really want to go. The guidelines are you don't want to go over 400 milligrams in your total day, and that would be quite. If I had 400 milligrams in a day, I'd be bouncing off the walls. A lot.
PVs all over the place.
Whereas
That's 4 or 5 cups.
yeah, well, where are you getting your coffee from? Because some places are super, super strong and are going to be using 3 shots in a cappuccino maybe. So then that one coffee could be 350 milligrams. Whereas actually if you'd made a coffee at home, it could be 60. Or you've had a Diet Coke, which is probably about 60 again. So it's actually going...
That makes me seem really weak, doesn't it?
Well,
I can't even have a diet.
I just feel confused now. So we
It's
don't
quite
actually
a lot
we don't
to
know
think
what we don't know
about,
what
isn't
we're
it?
getting then if we go to a coffee shop.
Yeah.
So actually the answer and takeaway from this is actually tablet and gel form. We do know what we're getting. So that's how we can make this efficient.
Is there an element of tolerance? Like if you're a 5 coffee a day person, you need one for your commute, then you need one when you get to work. Is that then going to have a detrimental effect to when you start introducing caffeine in your runs?
Yeah, so it's really interesting when we look at habitual and non-habitual coffee drinkers, especially when they do studies on caffeine, they very often choose individuals who don't drink coffee to do these studies on.
Oh my God, don't do that on Sarah.
Yeah.
I would be one of the people who would not make it to the end of the study.
Yeah, you have to be disqualified.
Yeah, they'd be like,
Yeah.
no, it's not worth it.
And that's the thing, it's like actually how much you drink coffee, you get used to it. Your body gets used to it. That's why when people stop drinking caffeine, they might say, oh, I haven't had a coffee yet, so I've got a headache. People get dependent on it. And actually we can modulate our coffee usage and our caffeine usage to then get more out of it when we're running. So some people in a lead up to a big race will really reduce their caffeine intake so that then on the day of the race, when they take a coffee, they are supercharged because it hits them more. And it's also, are you having it with a meal? Are you having a straight up espresso versus one with a full fat milk cappuccino? Are you having it in a full fat Coke? Because then it interacts with the sugar and the way it's absorbed. So there's lots of different ways we're looking at caffeine and how fast it affects you, how much it's going to affect you as an individual, and actually learning your body and how it responds to it.
So would it be more useful to not have a meal with your coffee?
Well, if you've had caffeine on an empty stomach, that's going to firstly make you very likely to have a tummy trouble. For most people, they're going to find that.
Or even just a cup of tea in the morning?
Some people, yeah. If you're sensitive to caffeine,
Oh,
probably
if you're sensitive to it.
Yeah, if we gave
Oh,
Sarah
I
a
see.
cup of tea on an empty
So
stomach,
that's the first thing I do in the morning is have a cup of tea.
and you might be okay with that. Yeah.
You are tea. I think you're like, if someone did a reading of like your water composition, it wouldn't be water, it would be tea.
But it can also have a really big effect on our hormones. So there's a lot of evidence and research coming out now, especially looking at women, saying actually coffee first thing on an empty stomach can really affect kind of our stress hormones and our hormonal profile throughout the day. So the research is limited and lacking.
Okay.
But there is kind of anecdotal evidence that coffee on an empty stomach has a big impact compared to coffee after a meal. And actually, they've done some studies looking at the way that caffeine affects fat oxidization. So there was some research that showed that actually taking caffeine can increase the amount of energy your body's burning from fat. But then we go, okay, cool, that's a great Daily Mail headline. Coffee makes you burn fat. But then when we dig into it a bit more, it's in non-habitual coffee drinkers who are untrained and only in exercise that's sub-maximal intensity. So really chilled, easy run. But actually your body's burning fat at that intensity anyway. It's in men. And it's actually going, people who don't have caffeine, we see this effect of actually it triggers our body to release more free fatty acids into our blood. But then when we take this up a level, okay, so we go, let's run at a faster rate, let's be a woman and let's drink coffee normally, that might not apply.
Really?
There's not evidence there to show how that's going to affect a different body differently. And again, it all comes back to this looking at how caffeine affects you and your running, your tolerance and your stomach. And it's okay to be a coffee drinker. It's absolutely fine. But it's just understanding how your body responds to it.
Is it worth asking at a coffee shop how many milligrams of caffeine is in the coffee?
Honestly, I doubt they'd know. Because if you think about, we're taking some beans, which have come from somewhere, been roasted, we're grinding them up, we're putting them in this machine, we're doing our thing, whatever baristas do.
Oh, they're so
cool.
So faffy.
Right.
But then actually, when that's dripping through, if you know those coffees that it sits there for ages and it like marinates and then you get the coffee out, that's going to have a higher caffeine content versus one that's been AeroPressed or shot straight through because it's been kind of let to soak more. So it's all these different things which are going to change the amount of caffeine you're then going to have in your coffee. So you'd probably go, oh, we've got 2 or 3 shots in here. And we can make a best guess. Like a shot of coffee is probably about 64, 65 is what most people reckon.
Yeah.
But actually, most coffee shops that you go to will put 2 shots of coffee in your cappuccino or your flat white. So then we're going, okay, about 120. So it's kind of going, we don't need to worry about this down to the milligram of caffeine. We don't. Our best way of doing this is going, okay, I know that before my long run with my breakfast, I have a single teaspoon of instant coffee. That's what I'm used to. And then on race day, don't go to a coffee shop and get a 3-shot latte because that will be very different than you're used to.
Yeah.
And it's going, okay, we can practice with it and know what works for us in that way of like, oh, I'm a flat white person or I'm a 2-shot or I'm a instant coffee and just being conscious of that.
I see. So, but generally, coffee versus tea, what has more caffeine?
Coffee. Coffee's a lot stronger than tea.
Okay, so how many cups of tea do I need to drink to get the benefit?
I'll
before a
make it
race?
all about you or anything.
I'm imagining you putting like 6 tea bags in one cup.
Do you just not like coffee? Why don't you drink coffee?
I don't like the taste. I've never tried it, really.
Have you ever tried caffeine on a run?
No.
Oh, maybe that's the next challenge.
I do think we've been living in a mad world when it comes to our caffeine consumption, listening to Sian though. I mean, for years, and certainly I remember going to dinner parties with my mum and dad when we were better behaved than my children. And after a meal, and it happens less in the UK now, but I noticed it happened in France when I was there over the summer, they offer you coffee at the end of a meal. Now that's absolute sheer madness.
I agree.
You're that is just, oh, I've had a nice meal. I've been drinking wine. This has all been nice. I'll now stay up all night.
Yeah.
But for some people, that's what they want. Like, think of the espresso martini.
But that's died out.
Again,
so have we figured it? True. But have we figured that out in the middle of the day? Maybe that would work.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've kind of figured that out because that's offered less frequently now, I feel.
I think also it's quite a cultural thing, isn't it? If you look in Italy, where they go and they have an espresso standing at the bar and leave, the way that we have coffee is actually quite linked to how we do it in society. Like our coffee culture is very different to Australia and elsewhere. And I think I remember reading about that coffee actually completely supported the economic growth of Brazil.
Oh, it's amazing. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and there's so much to it.
There's so much to coffee culture.
Yeah.
I mean, just noticing the difference in Britain, we have an enormous takeaway coffee culture in this country.
Yeah.
Now, on holiday, we kept on looking for places to take away coffee. The French don't take away. They sit down and smoke the coffee.
Yeah, but then I remember going to Japan and they have a culture where you don't like eat or drink on the move. So you can get a takeaway coffee, but it is packaged up and put in a bag, and then you take that to wherever you're going to, and then you would drink the coffee.
Oh, wow. I can't wait for this.
Yeah. That was
yes.
absolutely fascinating. I feel like I could talk about coffee despite having never drunk one.
Yeah.
I say now we're going to take you for a coffee and see what happens.
Great.
Yeah.
This is the last podcast you'll see from me.
Yeah.
But no, I think that was super useful. And I guess the takeaways there are like, be aware of how much you're using caffeine, and then just please practice it before race day.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. News time.
Yeah. So can I talk about the very exciting thing that happened in
You've
the
been
200
desperate
meters.
to talk about this.
Yeah, so there was a shoving incident or a
What was it all
pushing
about?
incident. So Noah Lyles, we know, is a huge personality within athletics. Very excited to see him at the World Championships later this year. He won at the US Championships that were happening, but then was shoved by Kenny Bednarak straight afterwards, and there was a harsh exchange of words.
I wonder what that was about.
Well, as we know, if anyone's watched the documentary Sprint on Netflix, have you watched that?
I
Sean?
love it. I'm
It was
It's so
so good,
good.
wasn't
It's
it?
athletics
Yeah.
drama. If anyone's watched that, you will know that within the kind of short sprint distances, 100, 200, the kind of showmanship, the kind of the beef
around it.
the beef is
Because there was nothing that
half
actually
the thing.
happened during the race. So it was either clearly something before or after, or something he'd said.
So as Noah Lyles came down, he overtook Kenny and turned around and did the classic
Oh, I see.
stare down.
Right.
So I think that's part of what
So he
happened.
took
But
him off, yeah.
I love a little bit of rivalry. You recently went to the Diamond League. How was that?
Oh, it's so good. I love it. It's so brilliant. It's really interesting to see it live as well. And actually the atmosphere in the stadium and the sprints, honestly, you blink and they're over. But there's just so much energy there. It's great.
Yeah.
Nice.
And also the qualifying has been going on for the World Championships for the British team. Now it's so complicated to get in the British team for the World Championships because it's done on basically a mixture of three things. So your qualifying time in these meets that have been taking place in Birmingham. Secondly, your place at the moment in time according to British athletics. And then there's a funding model as well that goes into it. There is a lot going on, Sean, isn't there?
There's so much going on. And that's the thing that they also, athletes don't have to get the qualifying time at the meet where they then get their place. So actually they could do their qualifying time somewhere else in the Diamond League or earlier in the season.
Yeah.
But then they have to place in the British champs to
Yeah.
then get their spot for Tokyo.
So
Time,
nerve-wracking.
place,
Honestly,
and
going
money.
all around
Yeah.
the world to
Time,
get
place, and money.
time,
Yeah.
then so many different
Yeah.
things can happen on the day. We saw it at the US trials for the Olympics, where there was so many shock results that happened there, and then there were so many people missing at the Olympics where you went, oh, why isn't this? Oh, they didn't.
And that's the
they
thing,
didn't place.
it's heartbreaking. It's
Yeah.
absolutely heartbreaking. There's so many athletes that I follow that I just feel so emotionally involved with.
And
I
you're
don't know
like,
them, but
just
I-
let them in.
Yeah, just run faster, please.
Give them a medal.
But actually, it's the beast of sport. that
Yeah.
on
It
the
is, yeah.
day, it's really tricky.
Yeah.
It makes it very, very interesting.
Josh Kerr looked good though.
Oh, just casual, just sailing down the finish line, waving to the crowd.
The
Kind of doing a royal wave.
Yeah, 5,000 meters of just
Chilling.
chilling. Unbelievable.
Maybe he'd had some caffeine.
He probably
Maybe.
had a lot
Yeah.
of caffeine.
Should we do some questions?
Let's.
Hello, running channel podcasting folk. That's an interesting.
I quite like
hello.
that.
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah. It's Adam from Rochester. When carb loading, I always find myself quite lethargic and heavy when I run, and I wonder if this is because my body just isn't used to adapting to fueling. Listening to Sean, I'm giving myself the quick and easy sugars from the gel, but does that mean I'm learning to fuel more in the run, to compensate for not eating 90 minutes in advance. Sian, the golden 90 minutes.
Yeah, I've got lots of questions for him.
Yeah.
Because my first thing is, when you're saying you're not eating for 90, is this we're not eating breakfast or we are eating breakfast?
No, I think he is eating.
We're eating.
He's doing it more than 90 minutes in advance.
Yeah, which is fine because that just lets it digest. But our bodies aren't, we're not going to run out of energy because we've not eaten for 90 minutes. That's just digesting. And
But
then
he's
we're going on
lethargic
our run.
anyway.
Or
Yeah,
is he
so
saying that he's eating too close? So he's eating less than 90 minutes.
I'm not sure, but that would be my
Yeah.
first thing.
Yeah.
Make sure we're eating breakfast firstly, and leaving 90 minutes to digest. Perfect, it's a great strategy.
Yeah.
But the thing with the carb load is everyone responds differently. That's kind of my theme of today, isn't it? Everyone responds differently to things, and there's lots of strategies we can use when we carb load. But if you're feeling super, super heavy when you do carb load, the first thing we want to think about is, what's your normal diet like? Because if he's not eating any carbs at all in his normal day-to-day diet, or is very low carb, when he then has loads of carbs, his muscles are going to be like, oh, happy days. We're going to grab onto this carbohydrate, we're going to store it as glycogen. And when our body stores glycogen during a carb load, it also stores water.
So it's not adapted.
So but that's what we're trying to happen. It's what we want to happen during a carb load. But if his body's not used to that,
His body's not adapted.
he's going to feel differently. He's not going to feel as good as we'd want to.
But why does he feel lethargic?
It's the same theory. It's kind of like your body's kind of slowing down. It's not used to it. It might feel heavy. And actually that's quite psychological. The lethargic feeling is going, okay, you're resting, digesting, it depends as well how much he's carb loading. If he's going really, really, really high carb and so many carbs, he's just spending the whole day eating bagels, we'd say, okay, we might be overdoing it. Because again, there's a balance of carb loading.
Yeah.
And actually, you might just be someone that carb loading to a really high degree doesn't work for. You might need to just up your carbs normally in day-to-day life. And then when you get towards your race, okay, you slightly carb load, but we're not going full plate of pasta.
No.
Pizza for lunch and breakfast. We're going, okay, just making sure we've got carbs in 3 meals, 3 snacks. And actually then in your normal day-to-day life, are you having the carbs as well? Because your body needs to be having carbs like all the time.
Do you know what this has made me think of? It makes me think of like in kind of like evolutionary settings where you would eat loads. Either you've got like bears who are then going to go hibernate, and that's probably the feeling that maybe Adam's feeling, versus this, which is quite like a unique situation of, okay, your body's going to like essentially go into battle. So you need to take on loads of food. So maybe you need to get out of the bear mindset.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like we're not hoarding for winter.
Yeah.
We're actually just trying to make ourselves have the best chances possible on race day. And there's kind of loads of arguments of like, oh, are you following a keto diet and then you introduce loads of carbs? Your body's going to be like, whoa.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Yeah.
So it's kind of that of like looking at it as a bigger picture.
Yeah. So essentially, if you are like training for a longer race, should you be doing kind of mini carb loads for all of your long runs as well? And then that kind of teaches your body then for race day when you do like a longer taper and carb load, you're used to it.
So actually, when we're training for longer endurance races, the amount of carbohydrate we need in our diet to support our training is higher. So you should be eating more carbohydrate anyway, not just during the carb load. So you need to support your training. Otherwise, your body's not adapting to your training. So actually then when we do get to the carb load and the taper, we're reducing the activity, upping the carbs slightly. Our body's like, oh, great. I can use this because I've got a sneaky feeling about what's going to happen. I think I'm going to have to run really far.
Yeah.
So that's actually where we're kind of training our bodies, almost soft parenting them to kind of be like, this is what's going to happen.
No, I get it.
This is the expectation.
Sian is the reason for increased bagel production in North London since you last came here.
I'm
Are
so
you a bagel
thrilled.
person
I'm
now?
bagel since May.
So tea, bagel.
Tea, bagel and Sian.
Nice.
Stunning combination.
Sian, thank you so much.
Before we go, have you got a favour?
Oh, I have got a favour. Firstly, if people want to hear more from you and your nutritionist advice, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on Instagram. I'm Sian Seccombe. And I also have a podcast called The Fueled Runner, where I talk all things nutrition.
Nice. Go check that out. And a quick favour. I'm not sure if this is too late, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The
not.
British Podcast Awards.
Yes.
We're back. We're pestering again.
Yeah.
Now, there are so many different schools of thought of how you actually vote for us.
But there's only one that works.
There's only one that works, but how it works for you will depend on you. So all you need to do is type in British Podcast Awards, search for the running channel, either with or without spaces, either all caps or low caps, or maybe title case might work for you. They really do make it a challenge. But if you do vote for us and then you go to your email and you confirm your vote, we will be eternally grateful. Thanks.
Yeah, so it's vote. vote. British Podcast Awards.
The running channel.
Yeah.
And then confirm your vote on email. Thank you.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
Super duper. See you next time.
Bye-bye.